Hello. I was just saying I hate introing. And it's live. Yay. All right. Hello and welcome to any and all who join. First off, I just want to, say thank you to all who have been following this journey. It's been pretty amazing seeing the response. And this is part 12 of what we hope to be only 18 series.
All right, just making sure we can hear ourselves. Okay, we're good.
Yay, we're good. Sounds good. Audio's good. Great. So if you are new to this, I am Haley Ram. This is my husband, Reagan Ram.
Hello.
And I've basically been detailing my story of growing up in an abusive home, in a cult, and kind of just detailing everything, giving definitions as much as I can, because I want to shine a light on this kind of thing, because my story is one of many. There are far too many others who have a very similar, scary, similar story. And not everyone gets the chance to talk about it. Not everyone gets to be vocal. And you will see in a couple of episodes, I think on the 16th, why it is so hard for people like me to step out, speak out, talk about the abuse, and just be public.
Right. A big part of it is the enmeshed family, which you defined in episode 1. And so
we'll probably redefine again at some point, probably in episode 16.
So up until now, we've kind of mostly been doing kind of like an interview podcast style, which we kind of want to keep doing that because we like the conversational style. So maybe we can try and do that. But we want also be nice if we had the equipment for the proper live stream set up where we can do that, but we don't have the equipment to do that. So
not yet.
Hopefully we can still keep that nice conversational style while doing a live stream.
And we're not looking at the camera.
We just decided to switch to doing live streams so that, number one, we don't have to edit because it takes way too long. And number two, maybe we can answer questions or help people that are watching.
Yes. And we've had some people reach out and say that they liked the live stream format better. And like you said, it's a lot easier on us. So.
And we're going to be doing a lot of them because we're going to try to wrap this series up this month. So we're going to be doing like 3 a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, because I think it's time to wrap up.
Hopefully you can hear me too, because I'm off to the side here.
Hopefully. Okay, so today's we kind of have like a pretty dramatic title here. I was dying and nobody cared. It sounds dramatic, but that was my reality. And not just mine, my siblings too. There were others who were sick as well. And as I've mentioned before, the public image was what was important to maintain. So unless your illness could be, what's the right word?
Clearly observable?
Clearly observed and used for content, which is kind of I know that sounds gross, but the blogs.
What do you mean by content? So people who are new, they don't know.
For people who are new, I'm
trying to position myself this way so you can like talk to me instead of talking to
that's better. That's better.
You get a little
nervous. I do get a little nervous. Talking in a conversation, especially with just you and you clarifying questions. Like I know some people have
hopefully I can still be heard. Hopefully I can still be heard though over here. We'll see. This is a new thing we're trying here. So
we're trying a new thing.
We'll just have to pretend like we like each other. Sit really close.
Ew. So public image, we had from 2010, I think until, I don't even know, it's on the Wayback Machine somewhere. Love Internet Archive. The treasures.
I could have shown that.
Oh,
I'll go find it.
You go find it. You go find it. Okay, so the Treasures from a Shoebox was Mom's personal blog, and she shared a lot of stuff. I think I might have mentioned this somewhere before, but in the last live stream, we weren't given, we didn't have say on what was published about us. And then after Ooh, when did that start? I think it was in 2014. Do you remember when the Long Way to Go blog started? Was it 2014 or 2015?
I don't know. Was that before? I can't remember if that was before or after I moved to Florida.
It's probably somewhere on here. Anyway.
I can find one.
So it was publicized. I had my own personal blog, which we are going to show some posts from. And I'm really glad I still have it because it's been a great source of historical evidence to back up what I've been saying. And also we'll be sharing some photos that I snagged from Mom's YouTube channel, which has these are public images. Anybody,
right, she's
these are not private, these are not photos I got from my own private, right,
you're allowed these, you're allowed to show clips from other people's public videos.
So these are screenshots of photos from YouTube videos that are already posted on the internet on my mom's channel. So the end of the year videos, which we loved having those. Anyway, I'm going to detail my Lyme story because this, I think it would be great to bring awareness to Lyme disease. It's very widespread. It's a lot more widespread than the media would have you, depending on which media, would have you believe. And I'm going to detail kind of what my journey was in trying to figure out what was wrong with me. Which I guess I kind of spoiled it already, the Lyme disease. But that wasn't the only problem. That wasn't the only problem. And so the story, I'll just start with the story. Let's see.
So we left off, you were dying. And we didn't know if you were going to live in the last episode.
Yes, in the last episode. So I'm kind of going to backtrack a little bit more because I can't remember if I went into detail.
Yeah, we recorded that before you
had the baby.
Yeah, so it was like back in December or November, maybe.
I think it was November.
Probably November. I don't think we recorded in December. Yeah.
No.
So it's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we had those recordings. But there were signs that I had Lyme disease a lot earlier than we thought. So back in
what is Lyme disease? Or is that you going to talk about that later?
So, yeah, that was.
Would it be helpful to know what Lyme disease is?
Maybe, yeah. Bring up the definitions. You know what? That was better. I think you had it better. You had the outline, and I changed it.
I didn't know. I thought you outlined it. I don't remember outlining it.
Well, I mean, you had it in order the way it should have been, and I changed it last minute.
Okay, well, I'm not finding the slides now. Okay, here it is right here. I'm just not recognizing because we switched them around.
Well, that's not the definitions we had. Okay, there it is.
Yeah, I put it on the slide. Sure.
Okay.
Because there's too many words to put in like cards.
Okay. All right. So Lyme disease in its basic form is a bacterial infection spread to people through the bite of black-legged ticks. That's what's on the CDC website. Okay. That's what's on the CDC website. That is not completely accurate. You can get Lyme from mosquitoes and spiders as well. And it's not just up in these, they have a line where in certain states where it goes. So I didn't think you could get it in Florida.
Apparently when the bugs encounter the invisible state lines, they like, oh, dagnabbit. Can't infect those people over there, I guess.
And this is a problem. This is a deep problem in the medical system. And the reason it is this way is because there are no drugs.
Money.
It comes down to money. So you can't make money off of it because it changes way too much. Were there other slides that talked about it? I thought there was. Okay, so yeah. There's 3 stages, and your typical symptoms include fever, headache, fatigue, and a characteristic skin rash. It's often called the bullseye rash, but you don't have to have that present in order to get symptoms either. In my personal experience, what I found was that when there was a bullseye present, the symptoms seemed to be accelerated. And I got worse a lot quicker. So they say that if you get antibiotic treatment when you first catch it in the first 2 weeks, you're fine. However, that's not always true, and very rarely does that actually happen. Can you live with Lyme disease without any problems? Yes, you can. Absolutely. I've been told this over and over.
So how do you know all this besides just experiencing it yourself?
Well, as I'll get into it, I'm not going to mention the nutritional scientist that I worked with for his...
He doesn't want his name out there.
No, he does not. But he studied it very closely.
He was kind of a pioneering researcher.
Yes. And I became his guinea pig. So it wasn't like a double-blind study. It wasn't anything like that. It was working with like a supplemental plant. So anyway, what else do we have? Go back to that. I didn't finish reading that. Yeah, if left untreated, the infection can spread to the joints, heart, that's an important detail, and the nervous system. Also, basically can go into any cell in your body, including your brain, and it is the one bacteria that is known to cross the blood-brain barrier.
And it can mimic a lot of different diseases. It's basically...
it is called the great imitator.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it goes in and it will hide, it will create a bunch, it'll find the weak spots in your system. So where you have stress, a lot of stress or anything, especially if you have trauma, it will go into those places and it will start creating lots of issues. So
trauma makes it worse.
Yes, stress and trauma make it so much worse because you can live with it, but if you have those things,
let me hold them.
Like I'm missing out on the party.
Archie.
Hello.
I haven't seen this outfit. Cute.
So yes, that's why I say you can live with it and be okay. But if
is it true that's man-made?
Oh yeah, I forgot I was going to talk about that. That's right. So if you want to go do your own, because I was going to include all of this, but Plum Island off of Lyme, Connecticut is where it originated. And it used to be a conspiracy theory that it was man-made, but I think after, what happened in 2020, I think it's not that unbelievable anymore.
So basically it's just it's
kind of a bioweapon.
It's it's like a bioweapon. So it's really intelligent, really hard to kill.
Very intelligent.
And it can mimic so many other diseases it's hard to even diagnose. And a lot of places don't want to diagnose it because there's no drugs for it or insurance won't cover it.
That's the thing. So back in the 90s, it became like everybody was getting it. And the insurance companies shut it down. They told hospitals and all these medical professionals, hey, we're not going to cover it. So then that's why it got very, 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 very hard to diagnose. And they're like, it's only in these states. So with that premise, I had begun having some pretty serious health issues when I was 17. So that would have been like the end of 2012 and the beginning of 2013. I was having like really major gallbladder issues. And I went and got checked out, and they discovered that my gallbladder was only functioning at 20%. Had no idea why it wasn't working. So a week before did I talk about this?
Yeah.
So a week before I was going to get surgery, my mom decided to take me to a holistic healthcare provider, and he said, go off gluten and dairy. And that seemed to work.
Right.
That seemed to fix it. But that wasn't a real issue. And we figured this out later, like 2 years later. Or was it a year and a half later?
Doesn't matter. Anyway,
yeah, it was a year later. So then in June, I'm about to graduate. I have the semifinals of the World Piano Competition to play, and I start to develop horrendous wrist pain. Like it's so bad that it is very difficult for me to play the piano for long term. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was because I had played volleyball. And that was one of the reasons. And I'm like, well, this seems a little bit weird. So very intense wrist pain. This seems a little odd. I'd been getting random fevers. They run for like 2 days. And then they just mysteriously go away. No one else would get these. No one else. And I'd be sick in my bed for like 2 days. I'd have to get out of, I couldn't do anything, which upset everybody.
So how frequently are they?
I tried to map them. I could never pinpoint what triggered them. And they went on for like 2 years, and it would happen like once a month.
Once a month.
Okay. Once a month, about once a month, I would just get a random fever for 2 days, and then it would be fine. And yeah, it was never really, explored. There were some theories like maybe it was because of the pigeon poop in the hayloft that can cause some kind of like lung disease or whatever. I was never taken to a doctor for that. So I start experiencing these symptoms. I graduate. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach piano. Life's going to be great. And I already had students lined up. So I began teaching in the fall. And then I started having weird heart palpitations. And I wasn't sure what was happening, but we had this like nutritional, it was like not nutritional. It was like a natural, some kind of natural like healing book that had like a list of like diseases that you can get, like a pretty comprehensive, like, dictionary is not the right word. What's the right word for that?
Glossary?
Yes, there we go. Glossary. One of those words.
Lexicon's a group of words. But glossary is, I guess,
probably glossary.
Defines a bunch of different words.
So anyway, in there was Lyme disease. And for some reason, you were going to try to grab that. So bad. No, thank you.
Just talking about him, not me.
Yes, because I always talk to you in the baby voice.
You just keep disrespecting me.
It's like, I don't know what she's talking about. So that was like one of my worst fears, was getting Lyme disease. Okay. Because I had been told you can go blind from it. You can't get rid of it. Once you get it, you're stuck with it. You can die from it. So that was like my worst
That's
fear.
Interesting. That's a sub-lesson. Sub-moral to this story is
you get what you focus on.
You get what you focus on.
You get what you focus on. So I bring it up to mom initially, and she's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think you have that. And I'm like, look, I'm exhibiting, and I show her the book, and I'm like, I'm exhibiting these symptoms. I'm getting these weird heart, my heart would speed up and then it would slow down. I was like, what the heck is wrong with my heart? Like this, it was freaking me out. And so initially she thought, oh no. And then I started developing a lot of pains all over my body, just random. Jeez. Didn't seem to be true. And they were really horrible. And then I noticed towards November, the beginning of November, I was feeling a little weird. Was the only way I knew how to describe it. My body would start to get cold, and I would start to shake. My entire body would tremble.
Jeez.
I would do this.
That's not right.
And nothing major happened in the beginning. I would be like, okay, maybe I just need to sit down, or maybe I need protein. I was trying, to figure out what was happening. So then I think at some point, mom took the Lyme disease possibility a little bit more seriously. And she started researching on her own and decided to treat it on her own with this herb called teasel root. So me and another sibling both took it.
We talked about that in the live stream with Mackenzie, your sister Mackenzie.
The teasel root. Yeah. Yes, we did. And it caused horrendous pain. And we were told it's killing the Lyme. That's what's happening.
You're going to die too, but at least the Lyme will be dead.
I'm like, oh. And so then I don't know what happened with that. Here's the thing. Okay. No, I'll keep going. So where's the video? Did you have the video of?
I didn't see a video.
You didn't see a video. Okay.
Where was the video?
I thought it was a screen. I'd done a screen recording. Did it not come up?
I didn't see it. Was it on the flash drive?
I thought it was on the flash drive. It doesn't matter.
I didn't see it in the folder.
Okay.
I just saw pictures.
So
where is it?
It's on YouTube. It's He's Got a Song in My Heart. That was the one. I just want to show, because I am so pale at this point. And I remember thinking something is very wrong. Something is very wrong with me. And I was getting really, really scared. Very, very terrified. So I had passed out we thought I was passing out. At the very beginning, it was, let's see.
What's it called?
Let's see. Scroll down a little bit.
What's it called?
He's put a song on my heart.
You just put a song on my heart, right? In
yes.
my mouth?
Yes, in my mouth. Heart, mouth, same thing. So I had begun to notice that I was looking a little paler. Just, a little paler than normal. And we'd performed at this one local church, and we'd gotten the video footage back. And I remember watching from the beginning to the end thinking, the longer this video goes on, the paler I get. And I remember by the end of that concert, I was like almost translucent looking. Like I was so white.
All right. So should I play it?
Yeah, just play a little bit towards the end, because that's where it's like most noticeable. And I can't remember if that was more towards the end of the concert. It was just
that's the beginning.
Yeah, that's the beginning. It wasn't this whole clip. It was the whole concert. But like, I'm extremely pale. Like, I'm very, very pale. And I remember by the end of the concert, I was feeling that my body went cold, and I was starting to tremble, and I was like, okay, something is wrong. So then the first incident happened more towards the beginning of November. We were having a bright lights meeting with the girls, which is like a discipleship group that me and Emily ran. And I ran the little girls group. She ran the teen girls group. And I still remember like the lights in the basement of the church started looking a little weird. My vision, and this is how I knew I was about to go have one of my episodes. The light would start to look funny. My vision would go funny. And Emily actually would know when they were about to happen. She said, you get this look in your eye. She's like, you start to stare off. And she's like, it's something's not right.
Right.
And so I started feeling this while in the basement. So I was like, I'm going to go get in the van. So I'm walking up the stairs, and I almost made it into the van, and Emily's with me. And so dramatic. And I'm like trying to tell her.
Drama queen.
I'm just a drama queen.
Just try and get attention.
Yes.
That's what some people thought. By the way, we're sharing all this information for people out there that might have Lyme disease and not know it. So maybe if they have if you have similar experiences or similar symptoms.
Yeah. Right. So I lose consciousness, and right as I'm like trying to tell Emily, grab me, because I'm standing in the gravel, and I'm like, Emily, I'm gonna pass. I dropped just like that, and like as I'm going down, I'm like, this is so pathetic, this is so ridiculous, I'm making this up, right? And she like tried to catch me, and I was only out for a few seconds, but then I couldn't control my muscles. And I was like, we just thought I was passing out. That's the only way we knew to describe them. Cause I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it had a lot of weird symptoms around it. So they, rushed me to the ER, and they're trying, running some tests, trying to figure out, what's going on. And they just diagnosed me with dehydration and tachycardia. Which tachycardia is basically just if you have an elevated heart rate above what's like considered a normal heart rate. I don't think did I have the definition for that in here? I probably didn't. So
they mentioned right there.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if I had the definition. So we go home, and they're like, well, we couldn't find anything wrong. I seemed fine. By I'd recovered a little bit, and, whatever, I'm still having some issues. And then a couple of weeks later, me and my sisters who taught music lessons had all of our music students perform like a Christmas recital. And that was our first like official Christmas recital. So it was a big deal. I had worked with one of the parents to be able to perform at this really nice church on a grand piano. So the students could all have a great experience. It was a beautiful church. And I was feeling a little, I was like, oh, I feel a little funky, but, show must go on. We have to do this. I don't have a choice. because this was an important night. I was like,
so in the midst of all this Lyme stuff going on, your mom even suspects you have Lyme. You're still having to perform. You're still having to sing all these different.
Oh yeah. But this was, I mean, this night was very important for me because like I had taught my piano students all of their, like we had worked on their songs for weeks. They were going to play, you know, first time performing, you know, first time for all of us, for me and my sisters to have our students do this. So it was a really big deal. And I was determined I was going to finish it out. I was going to finish what I started. And I was just hoping that that was just a one-time thing, even because like we didn't know, no one knew at that point. No one, I was just having weird symptoms, right? Whatever. It was probably food. That was the other thing. Maybe it's what you're eating. So I think I detailed this in the last video, but in case anybody didn't see that, I'm standing at the front talking, giving a speech, I think. It was more toward, oh no, the concert had finished, but I was still standing at the front, I think, because I remember thinking, oh, thank goodness we were able to get everybody to play. We're good. So it's just, I'm at the front of where all these people are, and I start feeling the weird, you know, my hands and my feet go cold. I start shaking, trembling all over, and I go down. I lose consciousness, and I was so horrified. Because it's like public performance, and then this happens. And I'm like, I am so embarrassed. I cannot believe this is happening again. Like, what the heck? Oh. Can we please figure out what's going on? So I kind of figured out if I exert myself a little too much, I guess that's when these things happen. So as I mentioned in the last video, the only reason that I went to the ER, because my parents weren't going to take me, peer pressure. All the people there were like, you need to take her. And this one mom in particular, who's a nurse.
So they weren't going to take you until people forced your parents to take you.
Yes, because they're like, we already went. They couldn't find anything. And so this woman was saying, you
find a different hospital, find different doctors.
We went to the same hospital.
Wow.
Same hospital. So stupid. So
oh.
That was, yeah, that was interesting because I had to be carried out. The first time I'd had to be carried out by someone, which again, I think my dad carried me out. And yeah, I just remember sitting in the front of his car.
Yeah, I mean, like
horrified, but still not able to move.
Like teenage girls should not be just passing out all the time. Like that's that seems really serious.
I was 18, and it just did. Yeah, it just, I don't know. But I had always been sickly. I had always been the one with health issues. Like I had been dealing with stuff, so it was always kind of chalked up to, well, you were preemie, so you kind of just have health issues. So we go, and again, it takes some time for this, like, I couldn't tell you what it was, but I couldn't move my muscles. I couldn't open my eyes, but I could still hear everything that went on. People thought I was unconscious.
But you weren't unconscious. You weren't actually passing out.
I would black out for a few seconds. I would lose consciousness for a few seconds, and then I would regain consciousness. But it was like my muscles were frozen in place, all of them, all throughout my body. So I became complete dead weight, which was really hilarious for the people. Not hilarious. It was bad for the people who had to carry me out because I was dead weight. And then after time had passed, my heart rate would go back to normal. I would warm up, the shaking would stop, and I would be able to open my eyes, and I would just be so exhausted, so tired afterward. So I'm able to regain consciousness in the ER, and that was awkward because I had a male nurse. And of course, I've detailed all the purity culture. He's got to open my top up to put stuff on me, and I'm like, this is, you know what? Maybe I could pass out again and just not be conscious for any of this. Like, this is horrible. And so, plus he was young, he was attractive, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. This is too much. No, please let me die. I'm like, God, take me now. Take me now. I don't want to be here anymore. So anyway, so they're telling me, you should not come back to the ER. We have no answers for you. Best we can do, you're dehydrated again. Still wasn't drinking enough water.
So the doctors are really bad too.
ER doctors are not that, they're there to rule out big emergencies. And
so you need to be going to like specialists, or
yes, that was the next step, was who do we go to try to get answers. And then they said, because of your tachycardia, which is common in teenagers, we can prescribe you some drugs so you can live a normal life. I was so mad. I was like, I'm not taking any drugs. I remember saying,
drugs are bad.
She can take her drugs and put them somewhere else. And I was like, I'm not taking those. Can we please figure out what's wrong with me? Because I'm very frustrated. I'm like, I had a plan how my life was going to go, and that's completely disappearing. And I don't like this. Also, am I dying? Please someone tell me what's wrong with me. This is scary. So when we got home, I just declared to everyone, I'm done walking up the stairs because exerting myself seems to trigger this. And I don't know why. And I was like, Mom, I'm living on the couch. And until we get this figured out, I don't want to move. I'm not going to live back upstairs because I can't. I don't know if I'll be able to get back down to go to the bathroom if I go upstairs. So, because that was another thing, I was starting to feel like going up the stairs was just too much. I remember getting up halfway and being like, I got to go back down. I can't do it.
It's crazy for an 18-year-old.
Very, very weird for an 18-year-old. So I think from that point, weirdly, we went to a pediatrician even though I was 18. That one kind of, I still don't understand that. But we went to one and we told her we would like to get a Lyme test. That was very, very interesting because she closed her door to talk to us about this. In the room we're in, the door was open initially, and she closed it and she wrote a voice. She's like, I don't think that's possible. And I'm telling her, I'm like, look, I have got severe pain here. I'm telling her all the points, all the things that have happened. And she said, well, I think you could just have a vitamin D deficiency. So I'm going to run that. And because we were insistent, we want that test. She's like, fine, we will get it. But she's like, can I show you something first? So she leaves the room. She comes back with an iPad and she shows us with a map. It was very patronizing, so patronizing. She goes, do you see this line? This is where it's documented that Lyme is. Okay. It can't, you see where, here's Indiana. We're not in this line. This is, it can't be here.
So all the ticks, they see the invisible state line and they're just like, I saw that iPad map too. I'm not crossing that line.
Somehow they, have ordered the bugs to stay away. So we're like, look, when's the last time that line was updated? Anybody bothered to check? I don't know. After that, we're still like, we want the test. And she's like, fine, I will order it and I will call you specifically when I get the result. She said, I will make sure it only comes to me because she said I could get in trouble for this. We're like, oh my gosh, what the heck? What the heck are we dealing with? And so, we get the blood drawn and everything. We do the test and it's a couple of weeks, and we get a phone call. And sure enough, my vitamin D levels were critically low. They were a number 9, very severely. That's too low. And I immediately got put on 50,000 IUs for 12 weeks.
How's it get that low?
I don't know. I do know that people who have Lyme disease often have critically low vitamin D levels.
Does Lyme disease contribute to that, or does it have a low? Is that the way around?
Yeah. No. Lyme. I think that's the way it works. It's been a while since I've read the materials, but I think that's how it works. But often people who have Lyme have critically low vitamin D levels. So then she says, well, Lyme test came back negative. I'm like, okay, well, you don't have Lyme disease. Well, then what the heck is wrong with me? So then because I'm having heart problems, we're like, all right, let's go to a cardiologist. So I go to a cardiologist and I'm trying to explain that when I have increased activity, my heart rate goes up, which is normal, but I couldn't quite communicate that it seems to be like if I just walked across the room, my heart rate would go up to 130, 140. Not normal. So not normal. Mm-hmm. My resting heart rate was 100. That's not normal either. And so they're like, okay, we'll put you on an 24-hour EKG monitor to monitor your, it'll record your heart activity in that time. And I'm like, cool, I need to pass out, right? I'm like, somebody needs to get this on record. Mm-hmm. I could not get myself to have an episode. I went up and down the stairs. I don't know how many times I felt really sick. Never once did I do my little episodes. And I'm like, oh, come on. So I think I had a heart ultrasound. They did an ultrasound on my heart too. And so we go back to the cardiologist and he looks very concerned. He says, okay, these test results came back inconclusive. We're clearly seeing that there is something wrong with your heart. Something is damaging your heart. We can't figure out what it is.
Wow.
We don't see it. Okay. And I'm like, and they tell me we can't help you.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm terrifying. Like, what the heck? Like, you're a specialist. You're supposed to be able to help me. Like, after all this, all you have.
So that's kind of the other problem with Lyme disease is all these different specialists. They look at one isolated part of the body. Yes. And you can't see the whole picture.
Yes. Yes. In order to deal with Lyme disease, you have to go to someone who is holistic, who looks at the whole picture, takes your history. Like, that is so crucial. So I'm living on the couch. I do any activity. I go anywhere. It's an automatic. I feel sick. I feel pretty early on, I figured out that laughing made my body hurt so bad.
Oh, wow.
I was in such pain for laughing. If I played the piano.
Demonic disease.
It was weird. It was so bad. If I played the piano, I remember trying to make a Christmas gift for someone. And so I was trying to play the piano. My bones hurt. My chest hurt. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It hurt so bad. And I was like, just doing this is making me feel so sick. Singing. I really enjoyed singing. It took so much out of me. If I sang, it was an automatic. It was guaranteed I was going to have an episode. So
yeah, singing's intense.
It became pretty obvious, well, Haley, she has her episodes. That was it was kind of like.
They became like your family and people around you? Or?
Yeah. You have your episodes.
It just became I guess it's like normal.
Yeah, it was like she's got her episodes. We don't know. We're still trying to figure it out. Mom's still doing research and she's trying to figure out everything. And then we get a hold of some information for this nutritional scientist who might have a lead. And so we're like, look, we're going to try anything because regular medicine didn't have answers. So we're going to go this route. This seems a little weird, but okay. So he was very hard to get into because he travels all over the States.
You can just call him Dr. Lyme or something.
Yeah, I'll call him sure. Dr. Lyme. Dr. Lyme. So I started having phone calls with him because he was like, look, if I can start getting your history and you just tell me what you've been going through, I can, before we meet, that'll help me get to the bottom of this faster. Because what he explained he was going to do was he was going to draw my blood, get a live sample so we would still see it in motion. Coolest thing ever. Still to this day that I've seen.
How come no other doctors said that?
Well, some other doctors do. It's just, I think, if I remember correctly, it was a technique that German scientists do. And they
seems pretty straightforward. Draw your blood, look at it.
And then they have markers, things to look at. He gave me the piece of paper with all the things that they look at. And I'm like, so anyway, before then.
I had him do it to me later after we're married.
Yeah. So you've experienced this too. So I had a couple of lengthy hour-long conversations with this man, and he's starting to talk to me. And interestingly enough, he starts asking interesting questions.
What kind of interesting questions?
So he starts asking, he comes out on the nose. Are you being abused? Have you ever been abused? any kind of abuse. And I'm like, no. Now, in the back of my mind, I remembered the one instance, and I think I've talked about this before, the only memory I could remember, and where I thought I was the perperpetrator.
Even though you were
when I was 6.
You were 6 years old.
I didn't mention that because I was like, no, we're not gonna. I didn't know what to classify that as.
You were actually raped, but you didn't know that.
Right, I didn't know that, so I didn't know how to classify that, and I didn't say anything. So that poor person, Dr. Lyme tried so many different ways to figure out. He was like,
because he suspected.
And he knew. He told me, look, I have studied people, and if they have certain diseases, it's an automatic. You've been sexually abused. You have been physically. You're undergoing some kind of abuse. So he knew this. He'd worked with many people, and he knew this. And he knew, looking at me, listening to my history and everything I'm telling him, he knew I was being abused, but he couldn't get me to say it. Like he tried. He's like, have you ever had a boyfriend? And I started laughing. I'm like, no, I've never had a boyfriend. I'm not allowed to have a boyfriend. And he's like, okay. Did your boyfriend ever like put his hand on your back, you know, trying to love on you, and you just didn't like it? Like, no. And he goes, okay. Have you ever had any freak accidents? You know, you fell in a vat of chocolate. He was trying to loosen me up. And I'm like, no, that's really weird. I loved talking to him though, because he had a very calming voice. Yeah. He had a very calming voice. And he explained a lot. I learned so much by talking to him. And so he was like, okay, just from hearing this, I suspect you have Lyme disease. And we're like, okay, cool. Yeah, finally. But he's like, I won't be able to test you until February 14th. That's when I'll be in. That's when we can see you. And so he's like, try some of this until then. So he had some supplements that I don't even remember what he put me on initially. And then I know I had to get my wisdom teeth out the week before I had to see him. And that was interesting. Yeah, you got things to say too. Yes. You want to add to the story? So February 14th, Valentine's Day. Both my parents take me. We drive. It was snowy, and I remember that because we got stranded at someone else's house.
Doing the show.
It's okay. It's okay. You can do the show.
Just doing the show. It's comic relief. It's a cute relief.
Yeah, cute relief. You're So.
Did you want me to show any of the pictures?
Oh yeah. Did I have pictures? I know I had. There was January. Where was January at?
January 2014.
Was it? Oh, before. There's the Christmas photo.
June.
Christmas. Right here. So this is me. I don't know why I'm pointing at the screen. No one can tell.
You're in the back next to the green blanket.
Yes. So that
on the blue couch.
Yes, that's where I slept. That's where I lived at that point. I parked myself there. So that was, Christmas was interesting. I don't think I talked about this, but this specific Christmas was pretty volatile. And I remember it distinctly because I couldn't escape upstairs. I was stuck and I was so mad.
Oh, no.
I was so mad. So I think this was the Christmas where Dad hadn't told us what he wanted for Christmas. So we didn't know what to get him. So he didn't get much. And he kind of threw a tantrum, to put it mildly. He was very, very angry, stomping through, yelling, kicking stuff.
Jeez.
It was so tense. It was like, Merry Christmas, everyone. But that was also the Christmas that I got a set of biographies about historical figures. So that made the difference for me. But I remember hiding under my blanket thinking, this is the best I've got. I can't go anywhere. So then we have January.
Is that Christmas 2013, you mean?
Yes, I meant 2013.
So this is the next month.
Yes, the next month. So the other thing was I was very nauseous. So I lost quite a bit of weight because I couldn't eat.
Yeah.
And that's me in the pink shirt on the end. And then let's let's see. Pull that photo up. Oh, no, what's that? That's after I got diagnosed. So take that down real quick. That's kind of important for the next part.
Okay.
So
we're already 45 minutes in. This is gonna be a shorter one.
I know. I thought so too. I was trying. So we go, and I'm like really nervous. We spend 2 hours. He's looking at my blood. It sounds really creepy, but it was alive. It was a live sample. He did it was just the liquid.
He draws it out of your arm, then he puts it on a slide and looks under a microscope.
And he also looks at the dried. He lets 2 different pieces of paper of it dried because there's more information that Dr. Lyme can get from the dried. He can know what your levels of heavy metals in your system are from that and some other things. So he's kind of like, wow, he's like, this is some of the dirtiest blood I've ever seen. And by dirtiest, he means there is That's a good
song title, Dirty Blood.
Yeah, it is. He's like, he's like, this isn't good. This isn't good. This is bad. But this is truly fascinating. And so he's going through and he's like, do you see this? This means this. This means there's nerve damage in your brain. This means you have leaky gut syndrome. Here's a piece of, you've got parasites. You've got
probably from swimming in the poop creek.
Probably.
Your parents didn't
probably
put the septic system. It's a previous episode.
I know. I had the list of symptoms or the diagnosis. Basically, I don't know if this was a complete list. But
you want to type in the search bar?
It was at the beginning. Where was it? So
this is a specific post I searched on.
I know. I think this is where I have all of them. So anyway, as he's looking at it, he goes, whoa, this I've never seen in real time. And we're like, what? And he goes, do you see this cell? This is a T cell, and it's ripping apart your white blood cell. He goes, he's like, this is bad. This is really, really bad. He keeps saying this is really, really bad.
But it looks cool.
But it looks cool. He's like, I'm blown away because
your body was attacking itself.
He said your body is attacking itself, and that's not good. So here we go. So he goes through and he tells me.
Were you on the couch when we started talking?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was up late at night talking. So he gives a full comprehensive list. He's my kidneys and liver, basically all of my organs were shutting down. He said all of your organs are shutting down. He's like, hey, do you have swollen, is your anywhere on your maybe under your armpit, is that swollen and really sensitive? And I had never told anyone about this. Because I was afraid I was weirdly afraid of getting cancer too. And I was like, he's like, your white blood cell count is through the roof. And I'm like, I've got lymphoma. I know I have that. He's like, no, that's not what this means. It just means your body is fighting something and I don't know what it is exactly. And so he's like, okay, here's some spirochete, which is the specific bacterial name of Lyme. And he's like, there's a heavy presence of that in your blood. So he's like, your blood is too dirty for me to be able to see if you actually have Lyme disease because there are so many other issues. So yeah, I had this hidden virus in my lymphatic system. I had tons of hidden heavy metals in my body, crazy hormonal imbalance. He was showing me, he's like, look at these blood cells. They kind of look like crunched. And he's like, that's hormone imbalance. He's like, see these ghost cells? He says, your body's not making enough red blood cells, which is why you look super pale. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Ghost girl.
Yeah. I had yeast issues, multiple bacteria that were invading my immune system. My adrenal glands had stopped working, which had caused my thyroid.
Maybe because you guys live downstream from the old bread factory. It's an office reference.
Yes, great office reference. My thyroid was not functioning properly. And he explained that when your adrenal glands come out, stop working, it puts stress on your thyroid because they kind of work in a symbiotic system. And so when the thyroid stopped working, that put stress on my heart. And he's like, your heart is not working great either. I'm like, I'm dying. And he said, yes, you are dying. And then the last thing was the mycoplasma, which that's really hard. That's so hard. It gets inside of your blood cells. So basically what my body was doing was it was creating red blood cells. You lose all your energy from it. Yeah, I was creating red blood cells, but this mycoplasma, this little germ was getting inside of my red blood cells and destroying them completely. So I wasn't making enough blood cells to, it was a nightmare case. And he said, he got me to agree to this little program. He's like, I'm running a little experiment here. I've been working with some other people and testing some things out, but I want to put you on a long list of supplements to kind of target all these other things to see if we can get that cleared up.
Long is an understatement, and no pun intended.
No pun intended.
Because your last name was long.
Yes. Yes. So he gives a list of things, of supplements that we're going to have to buy. It was so many different pills, tinctures, powders, teas. I had to eat seaweed.
Seaweed.
Yeah, seaweed. So many disgusting things. So many disgusting things.
How many pills are you taking?
At one point, I was taking up to 100 pills per day.
That's a full-time job right there.
Yes, it was. So he said, by the way, your immune system is shot. You have no immune system. You don't have one. Okay. So he said, over the next 4 months, you need to be very, very careful. If you get sick, it could kill you.
Jeez.
And
that's
he's like you have to be careful.
Red alert for everyone around you. Be like, okay, like bubble girl, right? Put you in a bubble.
I was like, shouldn't I be wearing a mask when I leave the house? Like, that's where I should be. Was this taken seriously? No.
So this is where the title of the episode comes in.
Yes, this is where it comes in. And I was able to find proof that picture. The next picture after the one after January. This one here. Here, I left the house. I was made to leave the house. I was around other people in public. Here, I went to a Civil War reenactment in April.
Because that's so important. Reenacting the Civil War.
I did get bronchitis.
Jeez.
And it was extremely bad. It was the worst case of bronchitis I'd ever gotten. And I felt like no one cared.
Why do you say that?
Because no one helped me.
What was that? What do you mean no one helped you?
I was having to get my own medicines. I was having to get everything myself.
Oh my God.
I was having to take care of myself. Everyone was too busy doing their own thing.
What was your mom doing?
I have no idea.
There's lots of people in the house. There's lots of people. Look at all those people.
Lots of people. And by this point, I started taking the supplements and I started improving. That was the problem. I started improving and they're like, oh, you're better. You're fine now.
Now you can.
So I had moved back upstairs to my bedroom and I was so grateful. Oh my gosh.
Why were you so grateful?
Because
also, why do you guys still say you didn't have bedrooms? It was one big open floor upstairs.
Right, this bothers you.
It does. Because you guys had little
it was 4 by 6. It was how big?
Each had 4 by 6 spaces and a big open room.
Yeah,
open room. And you had a 4 by 6 space.
Yeah, no doors. There were no doors to the bedroom. Anybody could walk upstairs if they wanted to at any point.
And has happened. That's another topic.
We'll tease that for another episode. Yeah. So at that point, I was upstairs because I remember laying on my bed upstairs thinking, I'm dying and no one cares. I'm like struggling to breathe. My lungs are on fire. And I'm like, what the heck? And I think one older sister actually expressed a little bit of concern. And I that made me feel a little bit better.
That's nice.
But she was the only one. So I started improving, right? I'm taking these medicines. Now, he had said, Dr. Lyme had said, as you are going to improve, if you have what I think you have over the next 4 months, by the end of 4 months, you will improve. And then you will begin to get much worse.
That's nice.
And I was like, okay, all right. So I'm improving.
You want to explain why that was? I mean,
I'll get to
this is already a long episode.
I'll get to that point. We still have some things. Okay, so in here, another proof, Mother's Day, I'm taken out around public, still in the 4-month period where, I could die.
Jeez.
But there I am. I don't remember. I thought this was
earlier. This is Mother's Day 2014.
Yeah, Mother's Day 2014. So beginning of June. Is there anything else at that point?
June 2014.
June 2014. I go to the summer workshop. A little bit before then, we had Mom tried to move her mother onto the property, so we bought a camper trailer. Mm-hmm. This is important. This is important information for the rest of the story. So the camper trailer was it ended up being a nightmare. 24 hours. She had dementia. Okay. And she needed other people to take care of her.
Capable.
We were not equipped. We were not capable. She was yelling at everybody. She was swearing at everybody. She was accusing. She threw her teeth, her dentures, and then accused a younger sibling of stealing them.
Yeah, she was psychotic.
And we laugh about it now because that's the only way we knew how to deal with that. But it was pretty traumatizing. That was traumatizing. So we had this camper trailer and nobody was really living in it. We weren't supposed to keep the air on, whatever. Couldn't use the bathroom. But there was air conditioning. No, it wasn't hooked up yet. Didn't want it hooked up. So anyway, so that was in the backyard.
Why didn't he want it hooked up? You already have only one bathroom with how many people? So many people.
Financial reasons.
And you have a giant septic system for a small bed and breakfast.
Okay, with that one, I don't understand. I remember with the electric, like running the air conditioning in there, he was really adamant he didn't want it run.
That makes more sense.
So with the bathroom. So I'm feeling good. I go to the 1 Year Adventure Novel Summer Workshop, which you've been there. Mm-hmm. You were there the year before.
I was there 2 years before you.
2 years before.
2012 and 2013.
So I get to go and I get to meet up with people. I went with another sister, and we drove with these lovely people
to Kansas.
To Kansas, and Olathe, Kansas, and that was fun.
Olathe? Is it how it's pronounced? I always pronounce it Olathe. Is it Olathe?
Is it Olathe?
It doesn't.
I don't know. I mispronounced words. It probably is Olathe. There's an E on the end.
I'm trying to remember some of the words you've mispronounced. It's been pretty funny.
Vehemently?
Yeah, vehemently. Because you read an H. It's because you read so many books.
It has an H.
You only heard those words used in books.
I didn't say those words out loud. Anyway,
read those words in books.
Yeah. So at the end of the workshop, it was a week long. And I'm sitting in the front row. And I have my episode. And again, in public, in front of everyone. Over 200 people think I'm passing out.
Yeah, I remember hearing that story.
And my friend and another, two other friends had to hold me. I'm in the front row, okay? Horror of all horrors here. Grab an arm on each side, and I'm limp, okay? I can't control my body at this point. They're dragging me up in front of the aisles. Now, the people running this are like, you need to take her to the ER. And I say, I'm when I can finally speak, because I go out to the lobby of this.
So like a convention center.
Yes, thank you. So I'm on a couch and they're talking, trying to decide what to do. And I'm like, I don't want to go to, finally, when I'm able to speak, I'm like, I don't want to go to the ER. They told me they can't find anything. So,
can't find anything.
Yeah. Looked at the baby. So I'm like, okay, great. My symptoms are coming back. So I'm devastated. And I get home and I call Dr. Lyme and he said, great, that's exactly what's supposed to happen. He's like, now you're ready for the next phase. And I'm just heartbroken because I was so hoping that it would just be the 4-month, supplemental treatment, and that was it. And I'd be fine. Now, all while this is going on, mom and dad's marriage is falling apart.
That's right.
This was 2014. Mm-hmm. They were in a bad spot. Everything fell apart. They were basically, that's when they, according to their stories, divorced one another in their heart. And we were living in a broken family. People were divided. It was a mess. So that added to the stress. Okay. There's all of that stress. Is there another? Oh, my 19th birthday party. I think I have the photo of me. Is that there? Oh, did you have to upload more photos? Right. That should be the next one. So that was so I get to have my 14th birthday party. No, 14th birthday party. 19th birthday party. Hey, buddy, it's okay. And this was the first time Mom's like, oh, we're going to do a co-ed party. And she invited you.
July 2014?
That one, and then 19. Just see if you can upload those. I can't remember what that one was.
I have to delete this.
Yeah, so that's me. And at this point, I'm hoping and praying that I have a great day. But I have the energy to run around.
That's the first time I met you in person.
Yes, that was the first time you met me in person. We'll get into that in our story.
I have thoughts on that.
In the next video, because I don't want to, on Monday night, we're going to go into our little love story. So anyway, so I'm hoping I can have the energy. I'm like praying, like, God, please give me the energy to be able to have my party, and just, if I have to suffer afterward, I don't care. Now, I do want to point out, all the while, I'm believing that this is suffering that God has allowed for my good. This is what was talked about. This is what I believed. I believed this was God's refining fire. And I was going to come out, they turn the fire on for the gold to remove the dross so it can become pure, but you have to, go through the fire, whatever. So I'm dealing with that. Afraid every night. At this point, my sleep is so much worse. I'm having nightmares, thinking I'm afraid to fall asleep because I'm afraid I'll wake up blind. So trying to go to sleep was a nightmare. And even then I would get woken up by other siblings. This is when I was on the couch. This is why I was so grateful to go back up to my room. But I wouldn't be able to get the sleep I needed. So people kept waking me up, and I resumed. So July comes around, I get the birthday party I wanted. I was able to have the energy, and then there's the verse.
Yeah, in context, it doesn't sound at all like what the meaning was. You just ascribed to it.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was included was yeah. I think I mentioned in another episode, scripture was taken wildly out of context.
So it's Proverbs 25, 4-5.
I think there might be other verses. I don't know.
It says, remove the dross from the silver, and a silversmith can produce a vessel. Remove wicked officials from the king's presence, and his throne will be established through righteousness. So it sounds more like removing wickedness. It's more about removing wickedness.
Well, the way it was phrased was removing wickedness from your own heart. This is how God sanctifies you.
That's not
uses suffering. God uses suffering to purify you and make you better and sanctify you. That's part of the sanctification process. So also, I forgot to mention this. I had a James 5 service, which what that is the members of the men of the church would, I was taken away into a private room, and just the men of the church.
That's awkward.
Very awkward. Ask me some questions. Do you have any sin that you need to confess?
Yeah, that's.
And I'm like, if I do, I'm not telling you guys.
Yeah, that's
it's
really.
A group of men. I'm like, this is so awkward. I'm like, no. So I just lied.
How many of them were abusing their own families?
I don't remember who all was there.
Okay.
But my dad was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So then they laid hands on me, and they prayed that God would heal me. And I'm like,
Which is funny because now your family says God doesn't do that.
Yeah,
so why have James 5 services?
I didn't think it was going to work because I was like, I'm doing some stuff and I'm not telling you about it. So obviously God can't heal me. So I've detailed in previous episodes. I think I talked about like I was masturbating all through teenage years and stuff like that. So although I think at this point I had stopped, but I hadn't told anyone. I don't think I told anyone. I don't know. I can't remember what sin it was specifically, but I remember thinking I haven't confessed it, so obviously I can't be healed. So sorry, your little
you don't need to confess your sin to be healed.
No.
Because how many times you see Jesus healing people, they didn't confess any sins. Or the disciples and apostles and Acts and other books.
Yeah, we're going to cover this more in detail in
yes,
a couple more episodes.
The healing episode. Yes.
So that was kind of the response, and I was getting a lot of responses of this is all in your head, because no one can physically see what's wrong with you. Mm-hmm. No one. Absolutely.
From the outside, you look fine. Like
from the outside, like big deal. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of comments. This is all in your head. Maybe you're making this up.
People in my family thought you were making it up. I'm sorry. I'm saying it.
Yeah. It was hard. It was hard.
That was hard for me.
Yeah. So because this wasn't this is the first time I dealt with it. I've dealt with it 2 times since then. So August is when I finally, I was monolaurin. I had to get up to, I think, 18,000 milligrams per day because the plan was that was going to be the thing that killed the Lyme. And it was going to take months, 3 months minimum before I would see a difference. And I was warned, your symptoms will get a lot worse. And boy, did they.
Oh, jeez.
They did. They got so bad to the point, my insomnia was so bad. I could not fall asleep until 4 a.m. Couldn't. Tried everything. So I was like, no one's using the camper. I'm moving out there because I'm like, I'm not getting any better lying on the couch. I can't get enough sleep. There's too much arguing around me. It's too stressful. I got to move out. So I packed up my stuff.
Good thing they had that camper.
Good thing they had the camper. So I packed up my stuff and moved into the camper. Didn't ask permission because I was like, you know what? I don't care. I need this. So say la vie. I'm moving out. So it was, everybody was kind of like, okay, whatever. So I went to, I think we have a photo of me going to the state fair, which right here. Okay.
Pigs.
So
corn.
I learned pretty quickly that if I went out into public, I would be in severe pain for at least a week. All I had to do was leave the house for 1 day. Didn't matter how long I was out, didn't matter the time, didn't matter the event. And then we had to buy a wheelchair.
That's why you're in a wheelchair.
I was in a wheelchair because if I walked, I would quote unquote pass out. And I don't know if there's one more picture with me out. Oh, that's something else. That's another event. So after the state fair, I said, I can't go anywhere. I was like, please, I need to be able to stay home. Because if I leave the house, I pay for it. I'm like, I can't laugh. I can't sing. I had to stop singing from that point on. There was, I think in August is when, because I still sang in the Freetown Festival in July. But then after I started really going after the Lyme, I was incapacitated. I couldn't, and I barely left my camper because what began to happen was pain accelerated. It went through the roof. I was in pain all day long. And it was intense, such intense pain. It was insane. My insomnia got worse. And then before that point, Mom wasn't convinced that my insomnia was real. She thought I was making it up. So her big plan was to give me natural sleeping pills. I think it was like valerian root was the main ingredient. She gave me one. And she's like, I'm going to sit here and I'm like, I would love to go to sleep. I'm like, Mom, my body is physically tired. My brain won't shut off. It refuses to shut off. And so she gives me another one.
Jeez.
She gave me, I think.
Can't people kill themselves that way?
Yeah. I don't know about the natural ones. I don't know. I got like 4 or 5. Nothing would touch it. And I'm like, look, I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. And that's the really horrible thing about invisible diseases is that people don't believe you. And then they say, well, it doesn't, because you can have good days. You can have good days. And it's like, oh, you're fine. Obviously, you're fine. You can control this. Come on, snap out of it. And it's so soul crushing when you tell someone who is experiencing horrible symptoms, you're making it up.
Especially
it's all in your head.
Close to you that's supposed to.
Someone close to you.
Trust you and believe you.
Yes. So the other decision I made in August was I told them I could no longer go to church.
Dun, dun, dun. Backslider, make you be struck down.
There were arguments that I got into with my parents over that. And I said, look, I cannot wake up before 10 o'clock. We were supposed to leave by 9 a.m. I'm like, I can't. I can't.
Yeah, that's why I call that religion churchianity. It's not really Christianity. It's you're worshiping church. But sacrifice your family, sacrifice your health, everything just to get to church.
Yes. So, well-meaning people thinking, so I got letters from people saying, you need to come back to church. I was told I was backsliding. I was told that this was all in my head. And I'm crying my eyes out here because I'm like, where is the church when I need them? Where are they?
Yeah.
I am so like I remember the other thing was the psychological symptoms. Do you know where the list of symptoms are?
Yeah.
There is a boatload of symptoms that come with Lyme disease. It's insane.
I don't know if you can read that. Is it too small?
Yeah, I can't read that.
Here, I'll pull it up on my
screen. It's very tiny. So I think actually there's a more, you know what so this is the comprehensive list. I had basically every single symptom on this list. And I didn't know about the psychological symptoms until I Googled it myself and found out that not feeling like you're real, not feeling
depression, anxiety, malaise,
yes,
aggressive behavior,
suicidal thoughts. Yeah. Social and oh my gosh, these social
disturbed
anxiety.
Sleep. Too much or too little. She talks about that.
Yeah. The feeling as though you were losing your mind. Yeah. So I found someone who was saying, hey, this is a thing. And that made me feel so sane because I wasn't, no.
I think you had, I remember you having difficulty breathing too. So the respiratory. Yeah. You had like everything on this list.
Yeah. I had everything. And I remember there was a mirror. My social anxiety was so bad that I was like, I don't want to see another human. And that included myself because I would always make sure the bathroom door was closed.
No mirrors.
I couldn't look at myself because just seeing a human freaked me out.
Wow.
I wanted to kill myself. Like I wanted it to end. I was so done. I was so exhausted and it was so painful. I was so isolated. And the other thing was I wasn't supposed to run the air conditioning, right? Summer.
That's
so
ridiculous.
It got to like 90 degrees and that.
Jeez, you just want your sick, dying daughter to cook?
I tolerated that and I'm like, fine, that's fine. When I need to sleep though, I turned the air on and I was like, I don't care. I need to be able to sleep at some point. So I kind of started being rebellious.
By just trying to get healthy, by trying to get healthy and survive. You were forced.
And I did remember having the thought, like,
don't get too far from the
microphone. I did remember that if I was going to marry you, of course, you moved to Florida. I'm like, well, this is good training, good practice for getting used to the hot weather. You know,
nothing prepares you.
No. So this went on for a couple. Let's see. I ended up not being able to go to church for a total of 6 months. That was not okay. So I was like, well, I've got nothing to do. So I started my own little crochet business.
So you made that scarf?
Yeah, I made that scarf. And I had a bunch of others I set up a shop on my blog. Nice. I was very proud of myself for that. I made some really cute things. I had my own little designs that I made. I tweaked.
Between that and the baking, you always had kind of an entrepreneurial streak.
Oh yeah. Plus I was like, I can crochet. Now I had to stop crocheting at some point because the pain in my hands was too much. So at that point, I watched a bunch of movies on my laptop. Thankfully, I had a laptop. It was it was a netbook. It was very tiny. I read so many books. I would give my list to, I wrote 6 novels in that year. So yeah, I even challenged myself to write a 50,000 word novel in 6 days, and I did it. So that was fun.
So just because you're an invalid doesn't mean you can't be productive.
I was like, I had to do something because the idea of not doing anything really drove me nuts. I felt lazy. And like, I, as you said, taking the 100 pills, upward of 100 pills, that didn't even include all the special food I had to eat. I was supposed to be eating a very specific diet. Although a friend provided me with microwave popcorn, and there was a microwave, the only microwave we owned, which was in the camper trailer.
Microwaves
so I ate that. Yes, microwaves are evil. And they gave me a bunch of DVDs to watch, which was how Toy Story ended up in the house.
Dun, dun,
and
dun.
That caused a huge argument.
Because you guys weren't allowed to watch animated movies at that time? Or anything that's not real?
Yes. And Dad was furious that they had come in without his permission. But the youngest...
But you can rape and molest people in the house without his permission.
Whatever. Kids will be kids. The youngest had already seen it, and so it wasn't going to leave the house anymore. So that's how Toy Story ended up in the house, thanks to a friend who gave me the DVDs, and then my siblings found it and were like, "Oh, let's watch that." And like I said, I started to rebel.
So let's tally up your dirty deeds of rebellion. You moved out to the trailer without permission. You turned on the air conditioning at night so you can sleep in the summertime where it's your closed box where it gets super hot. And you watched, I don't even want to say it. Can we bleep this part? Toy Story?
That's good.
Can't believe I married you. I'm ashamed of myself.
So then, they still didn't believe me that I couldn't wake up until 10. So Mom would send siblings out there to yell because I would lock the doors. They would yell and be like, "You need to get up." And oh my gosh, that made me so mad. I felt...
Why? What are you supposed to be doing? That's so important.
I just wanted to be up because it was like 10:30. I was like, I told you I wasn't able to sleep until 4 a.m.
Jeez.
This is all okay, yeah. So, like I said, the church backlash was not great. And so by the time we get to this fall party, which is where this picture was taken, I'm still in a wheelchair. I got the comment from someone who went to church, who looked at the time and said, "Oh, it's 7 p.m. Hey, if you just went to bed now, you could make it to church on time."
Jeez.
I was so crushed and so hurt.
Jeez.
I cried so hard, and it was so sweet because a couple of friends, my guy friends, were like, "Who did this to you? Where are they?"
All right, at least there's some good men or guys around you.
He didn't go to the church.
There you go.
He didn't go to church. He lived in another state.
I don't trust men who go to church. Just gonna say it.
So I think it was the adopted older brother who gave that person a talking to. And then they did turn around and apologize to me for saying that.
Well, that's good.
So that was good. But it just showed me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the attitude.
Churchianity.
This is the attitude that everyone has.
It's like
everyone thinks I'm making it up. Everyone doesn't believe me that I physically cannot wake up before 10:30.
It's basically their Trinity is basically Jesus, the Bible, and the Holy Church. Or Jesus, the church, and the Holy Bible. Something like that.
That's pretty accurate. So,
or maybe more so, they leave out Jesus, and it's more so God the Father.
I think at some point I should probably explain what these episodes were. I finally figured that out.
Yeah, I don't have that queued up.
Finally figured this was, and this has been years, and it wasn't until recently, within the last 2 years, a sibling experienced the exact same symptoms I had, ended up in the ER, finally got a doctor to look at them, and they were diagnosed with seizures and ended up on seizure medication. And the exact seizure is psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. And they are attacks that resemble epilepsy-related seizures, and they happen due to psychological stress. So
it's distress.
And cause from not abnormal electrical activity in your brain.
So it's not related to it's not related to abnormal electrical activity in your brain. It's from psychological distress.
Yeah. And
so being abused, trauma, that kind of
stuff. Yeah. If you go scroll down further on Cleveland Clinic, that article, it talks about
I don't have it.
Sexual abuse is one of the things. Abuse is one of the things that
so you want to show this page.
Well, stressors in your environment. I think it's on that. Because it was so confusing. And like I said, I thought at one point I was having seizures, but no one believed me. I gave this idea to Mom. And she's like, yeah, I don't think so. And that, it turns out that's exactly what was happening. I wasn't just blacking out. I wasn't just passing out. I was having actual seizures, which explained the nerve damage that was found in my brain. I was like,
You even had nerve damage in your brain.
Yes, I had nerve damage in my brain.
So physical triggers like injury or pain, stressors in your environment, past traumatic event.
Check a million times over.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was lower on that. Whatever.
What?
Anyway, no. It's fine.
There?
It's fine. I can't remember if there was more on there. But like,
it shows what
all
happens to you.
Yes.
Retained awareness. Yeah.
Yep.
Over 10 minutes long.
Eyes closed, unresponsiveness. Yeah, I have that, and that's rapid. Yeah, I had all of that.
Causes.
Yeah, so then it's like, here's any underlying mental health conditions, and there's all of that. So then, risk factors of these. You may be more at risk of developing this condition if you experience physical, sexual, or emotional abuse or neglect in your early years. Check. Live through a difficult or traumatic event. Check. Have a chronic condition like chronic pain or fibromyalgia. I definitely had the chronic pain.
And same thing for your sibling that ended up in the hospital. They experienced that too.
All of this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So finally figuring that out was like truly relieving, because it was like, I'm not passing out.
And that's
not actually passing out.
And that's another big part of this whole series, is to point out, like, it's not just like, oh, sorry you lived through that traumatic experience, that abuse, whatever. Just stop thinking about it and it will go away. But no, it's like you have physical manifestations later in life from those. Mm-hmm. And you have to deal with them. And the only way to deal with them the only way out is through.
Yes.
And so that's why a big reason why we're doing this series is to help other people that have been through traumatic events and have a lot of these physical ailments and don't have any hope or don't know how to deal with them, how to get healing for them.
Exactly. So to finish this segment out of this episode of Lyme, because it came back 2 more times after this, and it was related to stress and trauma.
But you did finally get completely rid of it.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that.
Yes, we'll talk about that. So I finally, I've been on, the supplements for several months now, and 3 months to the date that I started the monolaurin. 3 months. I realized by 8 p.m., I'm tired. I think I can go to sleep. And I cried because I was so happy I could go to sleep finally. And I was like, okay, hold on. Let's see if this holds. The next night, got attention. People were like, you're tired. I am. I'm finally tired. It's 9 o'clock and I can go to sleep. And I did. And then I woke up at 7 a.m. full of energy.
Wow.
And
I never wake up full of energy. I might have a problem.
That was that was so relieving. That was so relieving because I was like, yay, this worked. And there was still a little bit more, like, even after that, I couldn't sing. I tried singing and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have a seizure again. Or at the time I was like, I can pass out. So that that came back, and I prayed for my voice to be restored. Just a little slide that in here real quick. There was a Right to Life event that we were supposed to sing at. I should have grabbed that photo.
I remember this story.
And another sibling was beginning to experience some of the same symptoms I was.
Oh, wow.
And so they couldn't go. And we needed someone who could sing their parts. And I was like, I need my voice because we can't cancel. This is a big event. We got to go. We got to do this.
Yeah, I think another episode you said that was the biggest event you guys ever sang at. I think that was the Long Family Singers episode.
That one and the 2012 Tea Party political movement where there was over 1,000 people there. But that was a big deal. And so I was like, okay, I went off by myself and prayed. I was like, Lord, can you please restore my voice? I know you can heal. You've done it before. Give me my voice back. And I almost felt like this electrical current. This is so weird, but I almost felt like this electrical current went through me. And I just heard this little thought in my head, sing. I was like, So
still a small voice.
I started to sing a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I don't feel those weird symptoms anymore. And so I'm just like, I got my voice back. And I was so thrilled, and I was able to sing, and I was able to rejoin the band. And then I was able to go back to church, which was very awkward for me. But people were like, oh, it's not, I mean, they're like, oh, it's so nice to see you again. And, you know, to your face, you know, they'll be nice. So, but yeah, I think that was all I had to share about that.
And that's all I have to say about that.
So yeah, Lyme can be very hard to deal with. It's very isolating. Many people have died from it. Oh yeah, that was other proof that they made me go out when I wasn't supposed to be, when I was around the public. So yeah.
So if you have Lyme, there's hope and there's healing.
There is hope. There's healing.
Get rid of it.
It's a real thing. It's a thing that affects a lot of people.
It's pretty widely accepted now, but back then it wasn't.
It is. It's crazy how in just a short amount of time. Well, I say short amount of time.
Like it was almost
10 years.
It was almost like
10 years ago.
like a made up disease.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah.
Like.
And it's so hard to target.
Like people that are hypochondriacs. Oh, I got Lyme disease and I've got.
Yeah. Yeah. It's difficult. It's so difficult. But
you had just started getting it again when we were getting engaged.
Right before we got engaged.
Right before we got engaged.
Yep, during the.
So I remember I was there at the 10-day stay, and you were right to like the last day or next to last day. You were starting to have the symptoms come back.
And I had the bullseye rash then.
Yeah.
That's how I knew. That one was a little bit more.
When I was marrying you, I'm like, I don't know if I'm just gonna have to like, you're gonna be bedridden for the rest of your life. I'm just gonna have to take care of you or not. I wasn't sure what was gonna happen.
So yes, so that kind of leads into our story.
That's the next part, right?
That's the next part.
Is our story.
I think so. Monday night.
Let's look at
the calendar just to make sure.
Yeah.
That's more a fun one.
Yes.
So Monday, 8:30, right?
Yes, 8:30 on Monday nights. Yeah, we'll share our story and how people are trying to break us up.
Ooh.
Prevent us getting together.
Intrigue and more drama.
And that we didn't go on our first date until after we were married.
Yeah.
And how we went straight from being friends to being engaged. So a lot of interesting things coming in that episode. So don't want to miss that.
So yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you have your own, stories, I have enjoyed reading everyone who've left comments, who've sent me messages and told me their stories. Like that's.
And your means to respond to all the comments. You're just
yes,
very busy. With
yes,
5 children and such.
Yes. Yes, but it has been an honor and a privilege for you to share that with me, and I hope people continue doing that, and I also hope this helps someone somewhere not feel alone.
If you have more questions about Lyme disease, leave a comment and
yes,
we'll help you out.
Yes, we'll do our best to help you out. So yeah, I think that's all I have.
All right,
that's all she wrote.
All right, well, Leave a like if you enjoyed this and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the new content we have coming out. And see you
on Monday,
8:30.